Hi, everyone. Welcome to the ufohub live stream. Today's stream is basically about open lines, and I am basically hoping that some of you, and before I started, some of you I've chatted with, but that some of you would like to speak to me and share some of your stories, please feel free to download the Telegram on your phone or on your computer, and you should be able to find the UFO Hub group. And within that, there's a voice chat which you can join. Raise your hand, and then that way I know you'll wanting to talk to me. And so there's a few things I wanted to cover. Last week I was having a conversation about who are the Sasquatch with Cindy Carter, and I was having some issues. She had warned me that there were going to be some streaming issues, but I just didn't know it was going to be that bad. Thankfully, the majority of it went fine, but then my software kept crashing, and so I figured let's finish this up before it gets any worse. And since then, especially yesterday, I did some testing. My wife was acting as the other guest, and we were on for about half an hour, and nothing was going on, even though I tweaked some things. And so I'm hoping everything goes fine this time around. And but yeah, if it does, I'll reconnect and I'll work on it some more. But as of right now, I cannot figure out what the problem is. So yeah, welcome everyone. As you already know, I'm not going to necessarily have a guest, although I consider everyone else that's going to log in into Telegram as a guest talking to me, but not an official person is going to be talking about one subject and informing us about that. So if you were expecting that this was going to happen, I'm sorry about that. Next week, I'm kind of going to continue, or not next week, next Friday, I'm going to kind of continue the Sasquatch theme, and I'm going to have Kiwani Lepsaritis on. And he's also written a book and had many experiences and extensive interactions with the Sasquatch people. So I will be talking to him about that. I will be asking Cindy, I don't know how soon, because I don't want people kind of get burnt down on Sasquatch, but soon enough to kind of have her come back and finish the conversations, because I felt bad of whatever was going on. I wanted to give her another opportunity to just speak about whatever else she wanted to talk and basically finish up with the subject. So yeah, everything seems to be going pretty good. So open lines is just pretty much just you and I hanging out, and some of you who are joining in chat and Telegram is just basically spending a Wednesday to just hang out online and discuss the UFO, metaphysical, spiritual subjects. So I wanted to take the opportunity, at least last time I did it, I figured I'll do it again until I run out of things to wanting to cover. There's certain things I would like to talk about, at least just give a little perspective. I can't say that for most of you that these things are going to be these brand new mind-blowing ideas, but for me at that time when I was learning about these things and understanding more, it was quite a life changer. And so I would like to present the subject in a way that it was kind of presented to me, and I hope it makes sense to you in the same way, because my goal or my desire is to give you actual physical things that you can do to improve whatever it is, to improve your life, improve whatever you need to do to make this contact with these different alien races possible. So whether it would be taking specific steps to change your energy enough to where it makes contact more conducive, whatever that may be, I just would like to see if I can convey that to you. And so let me start out with a video that I filmed about 4 or 5 years ago, and I basically just titled it Illusion of Power. And so let me play that through and kind of set up for what I'm about to talk about, and I'll just cover a little bit afterwards, and then after that we'll go into open lines. And so don't feel constricted that you have to stick to that topic whatsoever. Just whatever you would like to cover, it's totally up to you. This is just me wanting to cover a certain topic, certain subject, to get that across to you, and then we'll move on. But if there's someone that would like to continue discussing that, obviously we can do that. So let me switch over here. And for those that are listening on Telegram, I don't have a way to relay my browser audio back to Telegram, but I did post the link of the video that I will be showing. So if you wanting to watch it or just watch this stream live on another browser, so that way you'll know what I'm about to cover. Okay, browser. And like I said, this was something that I had filmed in 2016, November, so roughly 4 years ago now. So let me get started with it.
For as long as there's been the internet, there have been rumors and theories about the infamous Illuminati, a group of people that control the world and ultimately strive to create a one-world government, a new world order. Over the years, there have been speculations and documentaries explaining and trying to connect the dots. But surprisingly, like with all the other great revelations about our system and the different agencies and their mischief, there hasn't been much concern from the public. Maybe rightfully so, as noble and forthcoming as it may seem to reveal and point out the wrongdoings, it inadvertently gives more power to what our ET friends tell us is a very small group of people that ultimately are not a threat to humanity at all. Much like the wizard in Wizard of Oz, once you pull back the curtain, all there's left is a man with all kinds of bells and whistles, shaping your perception and dazzling you with illusions that once you stop believing in them, lose their power over you. It's important for you to understand that and let it sink in, because what I'm about to tell you might come as a surprise. We are already living in this one world government that some of us fear so much. Your grandparents did, your parents did, and now you. And seemingly, it wasn't that tyrannical, was it? Most of us went to school, accepting what we have been taught, every bit of it as the whole truth. We have been given the illusion of choice to follow whatever profession we want. That regardless of what avenue the profession takes, and however obscure and independent for the system it may seem, it ultimately requires the one thing that will definitely shatter any doubts whether or not you are still part of the system. If it has not occurred to you what that might be, then allow me to show you. You see, one does not need a system holding the masses at a gunpoint. If they are given certain freedoms and are fooled into thinking the only way to measure success, wealth and abundance is by this piece of paper, and you can see how easy it would be to manipulate the markets of the entire system without any objections. And to take this one step further, they will tailor their illusion of freedom to each nation to give them a sense of sovereignty. So now that you know that it was you that bought into the system of illusions, for one reason or another, why don't we see what we can do to take back our power? In the case of the Dakota Access Pipeline, a published article by Yes Magazine titled How to Contact the 17 Banks Funding the Dakota Access Pipeline, it states that researchers with the nonprofit Food and Water Watch found that 38 banking institutions are involved in funding the proposed Bakken pipeline. The simplest and most powerful move any of us can do is simply to withdraw our money, stock and business, from all these banks and companies, which will undoubtedly force them to back out of the deal to finance the pipeline project. For years, there have been protests and objections to the use of genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, specifically when it comes to our food. GMOs are also used to produce many medications. A GMO can be a plant, an animal, whose genetic makeup has been modified using recombinant DNA methods, also called gene splicing. A simple online search and 5 minutes of your time will give you a pretty good list of companies producing GMOs, and upon further research, a list of companies using cancer-causing chemicals for crops and antibiotics and hormones for livestock that obviously we end up consuming. And the answer to all of this again is this. Decide for yourself right now, which one is more important, convenience or quality? If you're in a store and you think about buying something, which world would you rather buy into? And use the same thought process for everything else. When you're buying food, buying stocks, buying household products, paying for cable so you can watch the news that hardly anyone finds trustworthy anymore, virtually anything, and your actions, by default, will change the entire system and the way business is run. And last but not least, knowing what you know now, if you think that siding with either of these two will ever get you out of this illusion, Think again.
Okay. Let me switch back here. So what I'm wanting to just quickly cover, sorry, the next video kind of started blaring in my ears and I thought something was going on. So what I wanted to cover is to basically, during my process, I can't necessarily call it the awakening process, because if I was truly awake, I wouldn't be here. I would have simply understood what I need to understand and moved on. And most of you would not know me, and I would not know who you are. But in this process that we're all, you and I, are involved in, is, I guess, a small and slow form of waking up. And so what happens with that is, as you simply willingly are wanting to understand what is out there, what is this place that I'm in, why am I here, and all these simplified questions lead you from one thing to another, that simply then open up your heart to to this overwhelming desire to just wanting to know truth. And with that intact, and by simply being open, you attract everything that it doesn't necessarily mean, that there's going to be this world-changing information. But what it is that you become or come across more truthful information. Some of you might understand that, oh, this is relevant to my life, I'll take it in and apply it. Some things would just be, why am I looking at this? What is this about? Why would I be applying this in my life? Only to realize that many years down the road, it would be relevant to you. And so there was a period of time that it was getting confusing to me, because my desire was, I want to learn about aliens. I want to learn about what is it in my mind, that in my heart and mind, I have to shift to make contact. And I kept coming across this information that was all about the Illuminati, about the banking system, how it was formed, our birth certificate, all these things. I was like, I'm not interested in this stuff, And so during one of my experiences, I'm just going to make it short. Basically, the experience, I just call it a experience. It has different modalities how I experience certain things, but to me, it's all one and the same. Whether I used this permission slip, that permission slip, or whatever else, it all took me to the same place where I learned a new piece of information. And the idea was that this group that we call the Illuminati, and that, this cabal, actually it does exist, but it's so small and so minute compared to all of our masses that it's almost laughable to think that they really are in control of every part of this world and all, everything that's being done. And it's all, whatever control has been gained over the decades and centuries, it was simply through illusions. And so one very profound I guess, lesson that I was learning during this one particular time was that, so after I understood that, okay, there is this group, they're doing all these things, they're not necessarily beneficial to all of us, but only really beneficial to them. There was more that happened. Maybe at some other time I'll share it, but for right now, to just get to the point, as I was having these different experiences, there was some money close by on the table. And I looked at the pyramid, as you see in the video, and the eye, and then the second I saw it, information, started flooding in. And so what I learned is that this system that we're in has been going on for a long time. And if you're not aware that you're kind of in this controlled little prison system, you simply just live your life and you go about doing what you need to do, and you try to do good and try to do well and get a good job and get married and buy a house and all this other stuff. Although you're still confined within this, this one world order system that at the end of the day is controlled with money that was created by this group. The revelation to me was that money was a double-edged sword. Is that it only works as long as you are not aware that you also have a power to switch it on them. And so they can create whatever currency they want. It can be paper, it can be tangible things. It doesn't matter. You know, they can be in control of however much more of this wealth that represents power and prosperity. But it is you buying into that currency that they're using that also would basically by you buying into it gives them the power, but it also by you being in the dark, it basically, how should I explain? By you simply being in the dark, they can just continue doing whatever it feels like that is so overpowering, you know, that is so big that no one can attack, you know, like these big systems, big banks, big governments. But because of your ignorance, and pardon my French, you know, it's basically, you know, you're not aware that this is being done to you. You simply are kind of just going along, just spending your money at whatever you want to spend. And they say, okay, well, the masses wants more of this, so just give them more of that. The masses is asking for this, so just give them more of that. And so they basically, by having the sandbox where they create the system where they just control everything, and as long as you do not wake up or become aware that you also have this power within you, which is simply a choice, they can keep going and doing what they do. Now, the way that was then shown to me is that you can simply turn it around by you choosing what is it that you spend this money on. Because even though it's physical, it's a form of energy, or an energy exchange. You basically give, in essence, an IOU to someone else that, okay, well, whatever, you know, you go to a mechanic, and let's say the mechanic fixes your car, you give them, you know, this money, you say, I can't give you any bread, I can't give you any food or whatever else that you need, but with this IOU, you can go to somebody else and they'll provide to you what it is that you need. And so by you shifting over this, where do you particularly choose to spend the money will change how everything is run. If you look at a very simple example of 10 years ago, there was hardly any talk about GMOs and GMO labeling and organic food, or even any organic options. You had to go to these weird health food places that then basically would show that this was grown, you know, using organic seeds, and it wasn't genetically modified, and yada, yada, yada. Well, the more people became aware of what's going on because of these, you know, individuals that kept constantly pushing about, you know, wanting others to be informed about what GMOs are, things started to change to where now you have a variety of options in almost every store where you can go, okay, this is your conventional aisle, and now this is your organic aisle. And so that's one oversimplified example, but very true example how change occurs, because by them controlling you with that money, you can control back which way it shifts. So then they have no choice to, but then like, okay, shoot, let's shift our organization or the way things are done, and then offer more of these organic options. And so by whatever it is that you don't align with, whatever it is that you don't agree with, it's important that you make a conscious decision every single time when you're purchasing something or giving your, you know, your energy into what it is that you desire. Because, you know, we can't constantly, let's say, complain about, oh, junk food is everywhere, it's horrible, and always make it into this big monster that cannot be changed. But yet you might be a person that keeps constantly giving them money because you're getting a burger, getting a hot dog, and you're doing it once or twice a week, and so on. And so you have to realize that it's something that you as an individual are doing. Now, you cannot control other people, what it is that they do and how they choose to spend their money. But you can find the best version of you, that who you want to be, and simply say, this is how I want to go about, and so I want to be the change in the world that I want to see. So if you want to see more organic options for food, go to specific places that are specializing in that and support them in that way. If you want to, for example, the studio that I have, I went to a local lumber place and bought 95% of what I needed from them instead of going to Lowe's or Home Depot and these bigger places, because I wanted to support the local economy. That's what I was always been passionate about. So by simply you choosing and deciding, as I mentioned in the video, do you want quality or do you want convenience? Because until enough has changed to where things become as prevalent, all the good things are coming your way as as easy as all the bad things are now. An inconvenience is something that we might have to deal with for a while. But when all of a sudden you kept supporting this place, or day after day, week after week, year after week, and many others, has now become a huge grocery store that basically provides everything you can ever want, that's absolutely 100% organic and to your standards, then it becomes convenient because now it's local, it's close to you, and you don't have to drive all these miles out. And so just keep that in mind, that even though this group that we call the Illuminati, this cabal, whatever it is, that they in essence don't have any power. It's basically the illusions that they made us buy into are simply that. And the second you recognize that an illusion is an illusion, it crumbles. It ceases to have this power over you. And the next thing you know, like for example, one big major shift, which was during the 08, 09, is that cryptocurrency, what before was seemingly very difficult to get, to have any outside currency outside of the sovereigns, nations' currency, whether it be a dollar or a euro, to be able to trade outside of those. Because of the crash, it disillusioned a lot of people and showed them how weak the system is because of these centralized powers. And so cryptocurrency jumped up out of nowhere, and it's basically been, growing ever since 08, 09. And so one of my friends who was also a programmer, he was talking to me about it. It's not something I was really interested at that time. I wish I was, but he was talking about mining, and he's trying to get his computer to so he can help mine. And I was like, "What do you mean mining?" And I was asking about all this other stuff because all these terms were not too familiar to me. Well, the point is, a system created itself. Why? Because people said enough is enough. And so they started creating something new. They didn't have to go out and use a hammer and chisel to destroy one thing, absolutely, before they can begin with something new. Two things can exist and coexist side by side, so that options, are presented as seen, that two things, can be compared, and you see which one really works better. And then a choice can be made to where you say, well, we've had this and it's been doing great, but because the problems of this arose, so let's give this more of a chance. And the next thing you know, one will subside, the other one will rise. Now, of course, many times it's simply as that, to where a certain program works great, and then all of a sudden, there's a new program that comes up, and then people shift over to that. And so there's not that much conflict. But when it comes to larger institutions that are ingrained, you're going to have a little bit more difficulty, more fear-mongering happening. That's where it's important to know yourself and to know what it is that you want, so that no matter what fearful thing is happening, no matter what you're being told, you just know that what you understand, what you know is true, and you go down that direction. So anyway, I just wanted to cover this little subject with you. I don't usually get a chance to discuss it. I didn't want to. I can't remember if I covered this earlier, or if I talked to the peeps on the Telegram about this. But basically, if I have a guest, I don't necessarily want to take away the time and kind of interject another topic when I have a different guest about a certain subject. But I figured before open lines, I can at least give you little tidbits about what I feel is important for you to understand that could also change your life in a big way. But yeah, the topics on Telegram are open to discuss whatever you like. UFOs, aliens, ghosts, any of those is just totally up to you. You do not have to continue with the same topic that I started out with. I just simply wanted to go into it, cover it, and let that be it. So let me see here. Let me shift over to voice chat. Okay, so we have some Nathan, Carlos, and Guy Merritt. Welcome. And if you guys are just there to listen, great. If you would like to speak to me, just raise your hand and we'll chit chat. I have a new tab. Let's see how well it works. Yay. Okay. So I incorporated the chat too. So I wanted to see so I can see it on the screen and what everyone else is saying. But Bradley Cortez, welcome. Deb R, welcome. Louis Soldana, welcome. Woody, Guy, Scott, Roland, Fabrizio, all of you, welcome. M and Stargate Traveler. I'm just wanting to see if there's anything I can chime in on, or if there's something that someone else was sharing about that might be interesting. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, any of you watching, I have in the description. I have the Telegram link. So please feel free to install it, or if you already have it, just that link should directly take you to the UFO group, and you can just log in and chat with me. But yeah, if any of you in chat or in Telegram have anything to say regarding what I was discussing, or anything new that you want to start out, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll just be looking around and fishing to see if there's anyone who wants to talk to me. Because after all, it's just me hanging out with all of you online, with potentially everyone else watching. Okay, we got voice chat, and Nathan wants to speak. So Nathan, you are unmuted, and just unmute yourself and start talking.
Yeah, hey Anand, how are you doing tonight?
Just fine. How are you? Thanks for being here.
Really good, really good. I got a cough and a touch of the flu, so if I sound bad, that's why. Yeah,
You're
that's good. Along the lines of the topic you were discussing, I had something to add that might be helpful for some people. I know it was kind of helpful for me at one point. I often thought, because a lot of these that you're calling Illuminatis or Cabal, they're like self-proclaimed occultists, and they dabble in what they think is black magic, and they have whatever entities from other dimensions that they consider their gods, and they're giving them favor and whatever they believe. I came to the realization that really not only is their control an illusion, their supposed magic is an illusion too. They're not strong enough. I actually, it was what was that? It was the Global Intention Project. No, what was it called, where they were doing meditations in certain cities, and they noticed that it would reduce the crime in that city, and then they did one all around the world, and they noticed.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name. Like a
Global Consciousness Project.
Okay, yeah, whatever. I was wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, and they found, I forget how they came up with the numbers. They got. I mean, it wasn't just a bunch of. They have lots of physicists and mathematicians and stuff working with this project, and they crunched the numbers, and they realized it was something like people that are sending out positive intentions are like 186 or 188,000 times more powerful than people that are doing negative intentions, or maybe not just negative, or maybe they meant people that were sort of living passively instead of like actively sending out positive intentions. But I think what it was the negative versus the positive. So if you think about that, these cabal people who think they have all this power, which we know they don't, and they think they're dabbling in black magic, which is probably just a way they've tricked themselves. But what I was thinking, and I'd love if others would want to add to this, is that they don't actually do magic. There is no magic that they actually have. What they do is have all these mechanisms in place to try to trick the average everyday Joe into believing a certain reality that they would like to be true. And then so your everyday Joes are all sitting around the couch, they're watching the news, they're like, oh my gosh, look, there's this thing going on, and it absolutely must be true. Well, you get enough people thinking that it's true, it has the potential to, because our beliefs, what you think about most of the time, is your reality. Our beliefs have power. As you had Mike Dooley on a couple weeks ago, and his big thing is thoughts become things.
Yeah.
So, and you get a whole bunch of passive people that normally just, are not like living life actively and proactively. They they start believing this, and maybe if you get enough of them, and that is their so-called magic. It's basically just another trick to steal our power. It's just some thought that have come to, because but then if that is true, then we still don't have anything to fear, because like I said, the consciousness global consciousness project tells us that every single one of us has thinking positively and putting our intentions towards a golden age and a next era of human prosperity. We cancel out 188,000 people believing the pandemic and believing the crisis this and crisis that and whatever.
Right. Well, uh, it's the thing is they can't really steal the power from you. All it is that it's kind of like saying, you being in a cage with a lion, that all he's ever known is from little, that he needs to just at the crack of the whip to obey what you're saying, and little does he know is that they could tear the human apart, at any second, and that's the power that's always been there. It's just what you make yourself believe. Like that one example, I think you know it already. It's a lot of times when they have elephants when they're younger and they're very, like little children and unruly and want to go everywhere and just kind of hard to control. They put chains around one of their legs and they try to get away, and they're always constantly pulled back. And so they do that for a period of time, to where when the elephant is then actually, overgrown and a full size elephant, to where, they could just rip that chain off, including with that tree that it's attached to. They're then so conditioned and programmed that all they need is to just tie a rope, not tied to anything, around their leg, and they won't move, because they were trained that you're stuck, you can't move, and that's it. And so if one of them just would take one step forward and realize that they can break away with that, it would be chaos. And so chaos in the sense of for the ruling, controlling side of these select few. And the reason for the longest time why I didn't want to ever really bring them up, because there's such a small amount, and there's such a small group, that it's so silly to even call them control mechanism on the planet, that it could just be flicked away within a second. Now, of course, that group, taking on an individual, one person at a time, may seem like, oh my God, they have this power, or they made this person disappear, but that's the part of that illusion. And it's all about how willing are you to be your true self. Because if you have one droplet, you don't get much results. You get two droplets, oh well, there's two drops on the table. Now all of a sudden you get 1 billion droplets, and something is going to drown. And so when everyone understands that although you're just one little droplet choosing how you want to live, that you create new rivers, that create new paths, that whatever stands in its way would just be washed over.
Right. That's absolutely right. It's good to you don't want to focus too much on them, because that does kind of give you that power, or it puts more power towards the negative. But it's always good to be aware. It's always good to be aware of what's going on, what they want. But and as we're seeing right now in the media, it seems like the tides are kind of turning on this whole thing. With Apple getting busted for all their spyware, and
Right.
like even in mainstream media is talking about, what's the other thing? Oh, Fauci and his and the mask mandates, and Rand Paul, berating him for using just political theater, which is kind of funny, because that's all it really is. It is theater. It's all theater. It's all their tactics have always been. It's theater.
Right. Well, eventually people are going to have to, when even absurdity can only be absurd up to a point. When it crosses a certain line, it turns into mediocrity, and then it's basically it's just going to lose any standing that it had whatsoever. And I feel like, maybe we're just at the beginning of it, because just all the different movements that are happening and going on in the United States. I mean, this is,
it's everywhere.
The topic we already we already covered. It's, all these people like standing in their power, but as a victim. They're standing in their power, but as somebody that never wants to get out of the hole. And not only that, that facts and information is not something they desire, which is weird. It's like, how can you ever truly know the truth if you don't look up a fact just because it might not agree with you? And so that's what it's kind of like somebody, sitting in a hole saying, I really want to get out, but they're not taking any steps forward to even try to climb out of it. They just say, I'm really going to do this. I really would like to climb out, while they're just sitting there for days, weeks, months, and it's just a contradiction.
There's no time like the present, because I got to be honest, I think we're all have been guilty of that from one time or another, where we know we should be taking more action,
Right.
but I got to
Well,
binge watching.
but at the same time, talking about energies, right? All this energy, even though it doesn't, immediately have this connection to aliens, it's energy that was always there, but has never been looked at and worked out. Only after 2012, which I still believe that, there was a huge change, a huge, Armageddon. Wait, is it? No, apocalypse. Apocalypse means new beginning, right? Am I correct?
I
The
don't know
word
that one.
the word apocalypse itself, I believe, actually means a
I
new
like that.
beginning. Right. And so that there was truly an apocalypse in 2012, to where all of a sudden things came out about governments that generally felt like wouldn't have come out. All these hidden things came out, especially the big things. It's basically high power people in government, in certain corporations, and child trafficking. That's something that we as humans eventually gonna have to open our eyes and turn to that subject, because we just keep thinking it's absurd, but more and more is rolling out since 2012 that has come out. And all these different tasks and groups that were created by Trump to basically go out, after these certain child traffickers. And it was unbelievable how many were all over the place, and so it was just, like with UFOs, you can only ignore it so many times. You can only say, oh, okay, well, whatever, that's haha, funny, whatever, move on to the next subject. But look at them now. I mean, I don't know whether you want to say it's controlled or not. The media is just, anytime they get a chance to cover, anything about UFOs, they're jumping on it. They're talking about it.
I mean, I don't have like TV in the house. I didn't know. Is the mainstream media actually discussing ufology?
You're joking, right?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't have any.
No, I think I believe you. Yeah, no, I mean, it's not TV per se, but certain clips that people send me all the time about, hey, check this out, check that out, and it's always these certain clips about Dr. Carlson, about. Say that again.
You're talking about the stuff the Pentagon released a little while back, and then just recently here became popular again, like they verified it as being real. Is that what you mean?
Right, but there have been at least two others that have been basically released and talked about and confirmed by Pentagon that yes, it was released by the Navy, or that it was recorded by this particular Navy. Right. Well, the point is, it's there was something that cracked me up. It was something about Tucker Carlson was voicing his opinion, saying, "What is Pentagon going to do about this, this UFO threat?" And I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" It's like, I mean, it doesn't really like upset me that much, but I do just kind of do the like a little puppy dog when it doesn't like go, what are you talking about? It's all of a sudden, he's covering or not covering UFOs whatsoever, and the next thing he knows, he has the audacity to see it as a UFO threat. I'm like, I'm sorry, but wasn't this around for decades upon decades, and now you just going to come out and say that it could potentially be a threat? It's like, where have you been? Talking about, irresponsible journalism. Because at least, I mean, I'm not a journalist. I'm just a guy who's sitting here talking about all kinds of weird stuff that some people are interested in, some are not, But I try, my best to give an accurate account of my experiences and expose other people that have also, had their own experiences, because that's the next level. But they're still, at this early stage to where this lights in the skies is important for the planet. So I'm going to have to sit down and twirl my fingers and wait till they finally go, well, there seems to be intelligence behind this. And then maybe then I'll start looking into, or maybe then they'll start looking into, well, there's experiencers, and then what do they know? But all I know, it could be still 5 to 10 years down the road until that happens, until they have beaten that horse to death with lights in the sky, lights in the sky, lights in the sky, because after a while, people are going to lose interest too, because it's just like, oh, another thing that's moved really fast. Military doesn't know what it is, and they can't catch up with it. All right, let's move on. What's for dinner?
Yeah, well, you're right. I guess the rest of the public, the completely unaware public, still does need to be introduced slowly, or at least
Well,
that's what.
the thing is, it's like I personally don't need the public to like to like, hey, you have to wake up. All I know is that there's a large amount of people, in this, for as long as even that I had these open lines, that people called in and were sharing their experiences. And if anything, it's just for us to just publicly not hide in some kind of bowling alley like we all did in St. Louis, if you remember, Nathan, but actually just be out in the open and say, yes, I've had experiences. I know this sounds stupid and silly to you, but they were as real to me as I am standing here and talking to you. So either I say this is all was just a dream and crazy, but then me speaking to you would also then have to be labeled as weird and crazy, because I cannot deny what was happening, what was as real as everything else that I'm experiencing in my life. And so anyway, it's, this is just mainly to be there for people like that, for us to just discuss until enough people, if they are interested in it, catch up, and then they can reach out to someone and say, hey, so there is an intelligence behind these things. What's controlling them? Why are they here? And so on, which will then take the conversation to the next level. Because it's been my experience, with the exception of few, but again, everyone has their purpose, that almost most of them have moved away from the nuts and bolts, because there's only so much you can learn about that, but there's a larger picture, bigger picture that needs to be discussed here, and that's been already conveyed. That then they've moved on and are now exploring the similar things that I'm doing. Like Grant Cameron, for example, he's done, with all these different things. It's all about, he'll go to these different places where there's specific portals, where there's specific gateways, meditation, all these things to get your mind and heart to a certain frequency, to where now you can perceive more information and then interact with it more that way, instead of sitting there in the middle of the night looking up in the stars thinking, is this a UFO? Is this a satellite? Or is this just a star? Now, there's also fun to do that. I'm not shooting that down. I'm just saying that if you are truly serious and you truly want to get to the bottom of it, you might want to just, step away from that part and just start looking and reading and watching some of the experiencers sharing their stories.
Who is that now? You said that that is actually taking to the next level and going to a certain
Grant Cameron.
Different Graham Cameron.
Grant Cameron. Grant Cameron. Okay. Yeah, here's some pretty cool footage too, because when you are, it's kind of like, I believe, was it Carlos? I don't know if Carlos wants to come on. I wonder if it was Carlos or somebody else that was talking about, these different protocols. Whoever started them out, doesn't really matter. But the point is, if you are, whether it takes days or weeks, when you get your mind, right, or set your mind for wanting to have contact and simply meditating on it and going about it and working on it, that sooner or later, you will get in touch with something out there. And I know a lot of people are always so afraid of that. Oh, it could be evil, it could be this. It's like, when your intentions are pure-hearted and your intention is to simply to know, it makes no sense that you're gonna be all of a sudden just attracting the most negative, vile things that are out there. It's like a like attracts a like. if you were one of these people that's mad all the time and pissed off and all of that, then your vibration attracts like vibrations. And so to just all of a sudden be at peace and love and wanting to make contact, but then you contact just the worst thing you can possibly contact with. Anyway, what I'm saying is that then eventually through these different protocols, and whether you follow someone else's or just make up your own, as long as your intentions are true, when you make this certain contact, you will then be given these feelings and these things that turn into specific directions and instructions to you to say, just out of nowhere, you would be like, I felt I needed to go outside and go to this specific spot of my yard. I don't know why, and the next thing you know, you have a visual confirmation. Or, just out of nowhere, I felt like I needed to get in my car, drive, to this location or whatever, to make, to go somewhere, which I didn't know, but the feeling was so overwhelming that I just felt like I needed to follow it. You get stories like that. That's how it starts out. And then the next thing you know, it becomes a regular thing. And then it keeps going to where eventually when your energy is shifted enough, you will have that contact you are always wanting, you were always seeking.
Right. And then so this is separate from CE5. Like, can you make any specific recommendations? Like, can somebody just start now?
Well, CE5 is was that Greer that was
Greer.
Yeah. I mean, that's just protocol that he came up with. I don't know exactly why he chose those specific processes, but I'm sure based on his different experiences, and then he felt like, okay, this is how you go about it, and you can make up your own. You can make up your own, or if you need guidance or need someone else to tell you, then so be it. One thing, I don't know if it's still available, and let me actually see here. Let me see if I can, while I'm speaking with everyone here, I'm hoping I can. I closed my window, or I closed my my browser, and I wanted to see if I can, while I'm already live with everyone else.
Because there's probably a lot of people that would really want that and have no idea where to start. So sometimes those systems that are already in place, it's a good place to start, and then they can develop their own, whether intuitionally or getting it, sort of downloaded in certain states of meditation in your own mind.
Right.
I mean, personally, I don't feel like I need that validation. But that they exist and I need contact. But yeah, would it be cool? Hell yeah. But it's not necessary. But but it is cool. It's good, and it'd be good if people know where to go to find that. I know CE5 is a good one, but then you mentioned Grant Cameron. You said he has a process also online. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes. What I'm looking for is what happened was a long time ago when I was still in the process of learning and understanding what Bashar was trying to convey. He gave these 15 symbols that basically he was saying, here's these 15 symbols, put them together however you like. Sometimes what some people have done is take each symbol for 1 minute. And so basically 15 minutes total. Some have put some background music, behind it. Some have not. And they used to be very prevalent and be found online, to where then one particular very powerful experience for me was, simply going into this, I would sit down and go into this meditative state, but not with my eyes closed, just kind of relaxing. And then I, hit play on this video, and each symbol would come up 1 minute per symbol, and then switch over to the next one, and until it goes through all 15 of them. So the whole point was just simply observe them, look at them, whatever it is that might come up to your mind. Don't let it get distracted too much, because your whole focus is supposed to be on these symbols, and it's supposed to unlock certain things in your subconscious, to where now certain things that it's kind of like it's kind of like a key that at that moment, at that time, it's supposed to then shift within you and say, okay, now you are ready for more. Well, what happened to me particularly is I found those symbols online, and I've had them for seemingly months. And so I didn't do anything with them. They were just on my computer, and I would meditate and do all these different things that I was doing in Robertsville during that 2010 to 2015 time period. But one time, then just out of nowhere, I just remember it's like, hey, I have those symbols. Let me see what that's about. So I just sat down, I watched them, and I finished. So I turned my computer off, and it was still in total darkness in the room. So I just closed my eyes to just kind of meditate, because if I felt at peace, I just wanted to keep that going. And the next thing I know, I just had this bright purple flash that just basically took over my entire vision. And I opened my eyes. It was still pitch black out. Why this particular purple flash with this little inkling to, I guess, where your third eye would be, it was just tingling, And so when it hit me, I just opened my eyes, and I just all of a sudden felt like I needed to go to bed. There was no fear, nothing like, you better go to bed. It was just very peaceful, just to get up. Okay, I don't, let's go and lay down. And so I laid down, I closed my eyes, and I immediately found myself in a different place. It was very, very dreamlike. But what was interesting about this is that there were some people there. There were also my friends now here during this timeline. And so, but we knew each other on a different level wherever this place was. And so, anyway, so I'm looking at it, and it was supposed to be kind of like a little village with a beautiful trail, and it was very park-like, very clean. And so I'm looking up, and there's these 5 different orbs that are flying around. So I'm trying to get everyone's attention that's in this village, saying, hey, the UFOs are here. Hey, hey, check this out. And everybody's coming out, and they were checking them out, and we were all looking up. And then for some reason, I just I took a breath. I was like that, and I felt I was breathing, but not locally. And then I became aware that my body is still in bed, just laying there. So I closed my eyes wherever this location was, and I was able to open my eyes in bed. And I was at pitch black, like it was before. And I sat up, and I was like, no, what in the world is going on? So I just got up, I went to the bathroom, I came back, and I was like, that is so weird. I laid back down, closed my eyes, and I was immediately right back at that spot, to where it was so effortless. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to concentrate, didn't have to do any great meditation. It was just something was unlocked to where this experience happened. Well, long story short, there was a lot that had happened there, and there was other videos where I go into some details about that story. But those 5 orbs eventually turned into 5 tall grays, to where I remember looking up at them. And so we were, there was basically, I was walking with one of them on this trail, and we were discussing certain things. But what I couldn't really understand is that I was not, it was almost like my consciousness, Adnan, was kind of on the passenger side of the car, and there was another portion of me that was discussing and talking about whatever it is that was being covered with this being. And what basically, I was, wanting to partake, but it just felt like, no, whatever. I mean, I'm having a discussion, whatever it is, I'm sure I'll find out eventually. So as we were walking and this great discussion was happening, I was walking with one of them while the other 4 were just kind of, behind us. So we did a full circle. There's some other things that happen on that trail, whatever, but this, again, for a different story. And maybe I can get into it if no one else wants to discuss or talk about certain things. As we were coming back, I felt like me, Adnan, the character that I am, all of a sudden had control of this etherical body that I was at. And I I had this feeling that, yes, I could speak. And so I looked at it, and it was so tall because I kept looking up. So if, I'm about 5'10", 5'10", maybe 5'9" or so. So for me to look up like that, there must have been, I don't know, 6, 7 feet at least, especially for how close I was standing to him. Well, anyway, the only thing that I could really quickly, because it seemed like they were going away, and I don't know, I didn't exactly look into what, but all I could, utter, the words that I could utter was, "Are you a friend or foe?" And it just kind of smiled, with this kind of like Jack from the Nightmare Before Christmas. And that's the other thing that I was going to say. Initially, all five of them appeared to me in that way, because a few days
Jack?
before, yeah, a few days before,
creepy.
I had, well, let me explain. Before, I didn't, for some reason, I'd never seen the movie. For as long as it's been out, I had never seen it. And so a few days before this event, I just happened to come across, I believe it was a VHS at the local flea market. I was like, oh, wow, I've never seen it. I want to watch it. So, or a DVD, I can't remember. The point was that I happened to see it. So when it initially initiated this process, my mind could only connect this something that tall and that tall and lanky, and the way it looked and the big eyes could only be translated as this thing. So my mind was trying to fill those gaps, because there was nothing evil about it. It was just weird to look at. And so the more things went on, and I guess I was more used to them being there, it transformed and shifted into what I know now as the tall grays. And so basically what I'm basically trying to say, here's this entire event of all these things that I was discussing, that I was learning, and one of the things that came out from this was I was not allowed to know certain information at that time that I will at whatever stage, which I have no idea at what stage that would be, but my higher self was talking to them at that time. So that's why it seemed like I was in a driver's seat, but it was this higher version of myself that was discussing certain things. It wasn't anything bad, because I had feelings during that time, and everything went great, and excitement and all that other stuff.
What did
So
you
it
feel?
wasn't. But that's what I was just saying. It wasn't like anything heavy or fearful. It was simply, I couldn't understand the concepts. It was simply that something was discussed, things were talked about, things were planned. What exactly, I have no idea. But the point is, they left, and but during this time, there was many other interactions that were happening with other people that were in this place, whatever that I perceived as a village. What was interesting is I was going back and forth. I would literally be there for a while, then I would close my eyes there, get up, and then I would go to the bathroom again. Why I had to pee that often, I have no idea. But the point, was that I even, at one point, I was walking around my room. I was like, if I close my eyes again, I'll be going back there. So what should I do? While I'm still as this character, like what do I want to explore? What do I want to see or say or whatever? So it was so weird to be able to do that. And all of that happened simply because of these 15 symbols, which I'm hoping to find now. And
Yes,
so,
please do. Share.
yeah. Nathan, go ahead, chat about something or whatever. If you want to add something to it or whatever, just it'll give me more time to search this, so I don't have to speak and I can concentrate on
Sure.
this.
Well, I was gonna share the reason why I asked you what did you feel, because I there was a period of time. This is probably around 2014, 2015, where I started having just like lucid dreams or states of meditation where it, like tall grays became present, or the image, like especially their face, and it usually would strike fear in me and freak me out, and I'd snap out of it. I'd come back to my body or whatever the case may be. And then there was one night in particular, and I wasn't, see that, this is a while ago. I'm kind of foggy now, but I wasn't trying, like a lot of other times I was trying to meditate, trying to astral travel, trying to have a lucid dream. This time was just a normal, I just went to bed, and I, had to get up early. I think I was working construction back then, so I was probably super tired, probably fell asleep really quickly, went right into REM sleep. And I realized I was dreaming, and it became it became lucid dream. And it was these faces that I was seeing, they would sort of like appear like I didn't know if, like before this particular night, I would see these faces that would scare me, and they were the shape of the grays. And they were just sort of hanging out in my room, like in the air above me. Like I didn't know if my eyes were closed or not, if I've seen them under my eyelids, but whatever the case may be, it was always kind of creeping me out. And I guess I must have meditated on it. Somehow I found some sort of ease with it, because on this night I there was a it was I was sleeping. I realized I was dreaming. I realized I was asleep. I realized that I was in my body, and I kind of had the option to leave. But as soon as I started to like peel away from my body, I was greeted like by a family of tall grays, and just like with an immense uh, sense of love, and my tears just started streaming from my eyes, and I just felt so welcomed and loved, and just like I was almost like I was back with family, and I didn't want to go, and I was just and I think I was just overcome with just emotions of love, and that's basically what I remember from it. It's a while ago now.
Right.
I didn't know if you felt that, like that love. It was just the love was so intense. Like it was unconditional love, like a love that I don't know how to explain it. Just
Well, of course, I had it at different times, but it was all depending on what I happened to come across or what happened to be going on during that meditation or experience. But it's not. It's yeah. It's not. It's something that happens often, though.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
because when you are coming from this peaceful um, state of mind, and you're searching for love, you in a way you find it, and it gets reflected back to you, in all these overwhelming ways.
Mhm.
Nathan, I don't know about, well, everyone else is probably seeing this already. I don't know if you want to look at this also online, or if you are watching on YouTube at the same time. So right now, these are the symbols that I'm talking about, and this is, I guess, a graphic that they weren't released like that. It was they were more like simple drawings in the way they are now, which, like for example, like this picture right here, but somebody just, I guess, shoot, um, I
Can
guess
you share it
created.
on Telegram? Is it easy, or should I pull up my computer? I wasn't watching on YouTube. Also, I'm
Uh,
just on my phone on Telegram.
right. I can do that later. I don't want to. I don't know if it's gonna mess with my stream. Going
No,
back
no
and
worries.
forth, right? Because right now I have the voice chat open, and having to open up also to be able to text. I'd rather not mess with it right now. But this person, I guess, whoever this was, they kind of created these beautiful circle backgrounds, and gave some metallic looks to these different symbols. But those were all the first 15. Apparently, there's more. And the explanation that was given is that they were handed down to them as contact tools from the races that they then initially were in contact, became in contact with when their civilization was, on the verge of contact and needing to go what they went through. So
How cool.
anyway, and so I found on YouTube. It's right here is this person right here. It's called Sacred Circuitry Meditation, 15 minutes, and is by Hans Carlson. Let me see. I don't. Last time when I shared or clicked on somebody's video, I got a copyright strike. I had to deal with that. So rather than I click on it, but I'm showing you, if you simply search Bashar channeling 15 symbols, there's people out there that they create this music or just silence and 1 minute per symbol, that each one has a meaning. So let's say you have center, expand, balance, prepare, express, extend, um, unlock, flow, receive, relate, realize, act, transform, connect, and manifest. And so those are the things that did that to me. Now, what's interesting is that soon after, maybe just a couple of days later, I tried to go back to him and meditate on it again and see if something was going to happen again. And it felt like to me that it was just this, at that moment, this one time experience that I did it. I unlocked what I needed to unlock. Whatever needed to happen happened, and I was just supposed to leave it at that. That more information will come later, and then of course life moved on, and I haven't really looked at them again. But a very profound experience happened to me while I had, while I was observing these symbols. So talking about CE5. Like I said, I haven't looked at the protocol itself and what all it entails, but you can. To me, it took something simple as this. So, without whether it was the intent or not, Bashar kind of shared their protocol that, hey, use these symbols. It was handed down to us. Now we're handing it down to you, and it's supposed to help facilitate contact even more. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that, put that out there with everyone.
Yeah, that's great. I would definitely be doing that. That sounds fantastic. Have you
I will.
heard?
I will later. I will copy and paste this picture, and I will post it. I will post it on the Telegram page.
Have you been following Bashar here recently? Has he given any updates as to what the heck's going on? What we should expect? And the only reason I ask is because I was watching your Sasquatch video, and then the next recommended video was an update from Chiron. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Kyron.
Cryon.
And Cryon, Kryon. That's right. And
Right.
he was supposed to be saying what's going on in 2022, and maybe it got there. But one of the takeaways I got from it was right away, it was like, okay, you guys, we were worried right when we wrote our book back 20 years ago. We were worried that you guys were going to have to experience mass extinction, like a genocide event in order to
Right.
snap out of your illusion, your dream. And he's like, you don't have to do that anymore. You guys are doing
Right.
great. You're all waking up in droves, and it's amazing. So I was like, hell yeah, let's keep going, guys.
Yeah, I've heard, I've seen that one too. While I was actually talking about, and occasionally when something comes across, kind of my radar, I try not to ignore it. So it came up twice. I ignored it the first time. Or the second time, it's like, okay, I'll listen to this or watch this. It's basically my way of getting my attention, I guess, because I was trying to fix a Super Nintendo controller. And so I was, had it all apart, and so I had a phone and hooked up to the speaker, and while I was listening to that, I was doing all the wiring and getting that all fixed up, because our youngest one, he's 3, he's getting really interested in the different gaming. So although he has the tablet, he loves playing Mario and all that other stuff that we loved as children. So we're wanting him to grow up more on that and have that experience, because it was joyful for us. Anyway, so I was doing that while I was listening to Cryon, and yeah, he's written a few books about the upcoming changes, and so did Bashar. But no, to answer your question, I generally don't, because whatever I needed to learn at that time, I've spent a great deal on learning and understanding. So now I just basically follow my intuition and my gut feeling. Now that I know exactly that that's your connection to your higher self, and the gut feeling will never mislead you, I just simply do what I need to do and go where I need to go. And I always end up coming across whatever I need to come across, whether it be solving a problem, meeting people, certain things, whatever is more pertinent in my life. Because at the end of the day, that was the basic understanding and basic concepts that Bashar was trying to, get across, is that, be the best version of yourself that you can be, because you can't be anyone else, and by you being you'll attract that many more things, that basically mesh with you by effortlessly and seamlessly. And so, I mean, boy, did it work, because right at that time, as I was going through all these different years of working on things and making all these different changes and taking actions, within a span of several months, I was, in a relationship with someone who is my wife now, moved to a different city, did different directions, gone different directions with UFO Hub, and all this stuff was just happening out of nowhere. And it wasn't I wasn't sitting there trying to plan it all out. I just simply followed my gut, and it led me to all these new directions that my life needed to go into. So to go back and try to listen to it, it's always fun, but I understand it, and so I just would rather live my life instead of constantly going back trying to being retaught something. I mean, it's kind of like the explanation I would use is, and I often use it. It's like love. When you're in love, you want to look up books and read about it, and what do you do, and you watch gurus and all this other stuff. But then when you finally are in love and you are with the person you want to be, and it's just you don't go back to How to Be in Love 101 book, right? You don't go back to, well, let me see, let me rewatch this guy about love again or something like that. It's like once you're in that state, you're already in that state, so you just live your life with that person. You don't go back reading all these books and re-listening all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just be yourself, like you said. I
Right.
think, yeah, your life, especially with UFO Hub, is a very good example for anybody who's doubting that method of just be yourself, follow your passion, whatever excites you the most, go in that direction, and everything else will, or as like Mike Dooley, again, I'll quote him again, said, the universe will conspire on your behalf, if you're
Yeah.
doing what you love, to
Well,
make sure
because
everything.
yeah, well, our analytical minds always want to literally analyze and be in control of everything, but your ego mind is like the dumbest part of you. Now, of course, it has a very important part it needs to play. So when I call it the dumbest part, doesn't mean that you should just discount it. Because you have to know yourself and respect those parts of yourself that haven't really caught up to who you truly want to be. Because a lot of people would often say, yeah, I can do this, everything's fine. Like one example Bashar was often using is, you can be told that in order to go deep sea diving, you need this mask. And the ego will be like, I don't need a mask. I'm just fine. I'll hold my air. I'll do all this other stuff. But when you're 300 feet underwater, you are very grateful that you have that mask on, And so it's the same thing with the ego. It has a purpose. The ego is there to basically maintain your body, to just do these everyday, day-to-day mundane things, to just be the vessel that it's here to be for you. And so, don't ever discount it. That's why a lot of the things that I ever wanted regarding contact, I couldn't go beyond what my body was capable of going. I mean, if I went beyond it, it would have been physical damage that it wouldn't have benefited me or the people or the beings that I'm trying to be in contact with. And so, you just have to slowly go along with it. It's almost like Dolores Cannon would often call it. You can't give steak to a baby. Certain development, certain things, certain growth has to occur before then you can start chewing on steak and eating it and then moving on with life. But as a baby, you would not be able to get that done. So anyway, yes. So, excuse me, just one quick second, Nathan. So, anyone watching, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. We're just basically hanging out online, chatting about whatever topics happen to be. And we have Nathan on today, and Carlos seems to be listening too. If he wants to share some things, I would encourage him to raise his hand and also talk to me. But you are welcome to also go get on Telegram. Or if you don't have it, download the app to your phone or computer, find the UFO Hub group, and join the voice chat, where you can then directly talk to me about whatever experiences you've had in your life, whether it be ghosts, UFOs, metaphysical, or whatever. And sometimes, we cover things that are, I wouldn't call it necessarily political, but a lot of societal changes that are happening. And so, because it's very prevalent in our life right now, and so, of course, it's sometimes a topic that cannot be avoided. But pretty much any topic that you would like to discuss, that's what I'm here for. Any other time, Fridays, I'm going to have Kiwani Lepsaritis on at 7 p.m. Central Time, and he's also I guess a Sasquatch researcher and an experiencer. for a very long time. So since a lot of times I've just been covering UFOs and abduction things, I figured to switch it up a little bit and go more into the cryptozoology field and just discuss more information regarding that. And for those of you who have not heard this earlier, I'm going to, last week I had Cindy Carter on, and we were kind of discussing who are the Sasquatch, but there was a lot of problems I was having with my stream, and it kept dropping, and all these things were happening. So I apologized to her, and I said I would be more than happy to have you on again if you can, so that we can finish this conversation. So what else we'll discuss, I don't know, but I hope you can join us. I don't know that I'll have her immediately the week after, but I will have her on soon, so that at least then we'll complete the Sasquatch subject, and then we'll move on to something else. Maybe I might go into different experiences that are psychic or ghosts, or whatever else I'm led to. I'll try to kind of go down that direction, so that there's a variety of different things for you to hear about and participate. But yeah, join me on Telegram if you like. If you have any other questions in chat, I am also watching that. So seems like you guys have been very busy, which is good. I'm glad you guys have some conversations. And so if there's any particular questions you'd like to chime in or whatever, just don't hesitate to ask. Please make sure to put the 3 stars before your question, because then I know it's something in reference to me, instead of just being another comment for another person that's in the chat. So it'll just pop out at me easier. Okay. Let's see. Nathan, is there anything else you would like to discuss? And I don't know, I couldn't see if Carlos had raised his hand or if Carlos just wants to listen in.
Just one question came to mind, and then if someone else can have the floor. But just when you were talking there, so you mentioned earlier that Nancy Carter, that's her name, right?
Cindy.
Cindy, yeah.
Cindy.
So
after like halfway through the interview, I changed the name to Sydney for some reason, and somebody brought that up to me in the comment. I'm like, sorry, Cindy, okay. Cindy, I believe.
That was a great interview. That was very, very fascinating. I'd love to hear more from her in the future, like more of her experiences. But you mentioned that she said before the interview, she expected there might be problems with connection. Did she say why? Like, did she say, is she just got a bad internet connection, or is it something experience because of her energy?
Little did she say that, first the stream started out with me making a rookie mistake of muting myself, and I was just doing whatever, silent movie mode there. And so then I started seeing in the chat, they're like, no sound, something is wrong. So then I unmuted myself. I was just about to start talking to her. Then her stream drops for Skype. Well, then I get her back and we continue. And as we're continuing this discussion, thankfully, majority of it, everything seemed to be fine. But then my OBS that has never done that before, all these interviews, it just kept crashing, and I kept coming back, and I would ask her, please repeat the last thing. And so I had checked out my system yesterday. It worked just fine. It seems to be working just fine now too, because it seems like I've been on for an hour and a half with seemingly no problem. So I don't know what the problem was, but she kept saying that there's, from her point of view, that there's these certain 3-letter agencies based on what she used to do, that they don't want her discussing certain things. And so every time she's on, they mess with her, in one form or another. And so, like I said, people sometimes say that nothing happens, but she said it, and soon after all this stuff was occurring. So I made some minor changes because there was nothing I could necessarily find wrong, because even after I did the test stream yesterday, I haven't changed much. It shouldn't have been a significant change for all my settings, it's, because if it's hard to fix something if it's not broken. So I was hoping that a problem would occur again to where I can, replicate it. Because, being in IT, as you might know, Nathan, it's, you have to be able to replicate the problem in order to help somebody, but especially when you're trying to solve your own problems. But if I can't see it, I can't have it happen again, then I don't know what I'm looking at.
Maybe it was just she was starting to broach certain topics, certain subjects that they particularly don't want out in the public scene
Well,
right now, or something.
right. She was saying that after certain sightings of Sasquatch, that then this group would show up, government, 3-letter agencies, and they were close by. And I think I remember asking her, I said, well, so do they have like a standby headquarters somewhere to where they can quickly be where this happens, or what? And or is this something else? And she's like a bit of both, to where for whatever reason they're interested in that subject too. I don't know if some of you might be interested. I would really appreciate some kind of feedback, even for those of you watching, if you could at least interact in the chat with maybe a thumbs up or thumbs down. The video that my friend Joe Palermo covered, there's a particular thing that I was sharing that this was happening on the side of a road where he and some other Sasquatch researchers they found some footprints and whatnot. Well, anyway, I found a video where I was trying to tell you guys where he just kind of panned the camera around without looking, and he had captured this brown being that was there, that kind of stuck out like a sore thumb in the footage. And so I found it, and it's about 10 minutes long. And so if you're interested in me showing it to you now, especially since I have the browser, I can open it up and find it. Please let me know. If you would rather me not to do that, then I won't. But at least if there's a majority of people that might be interested in this, it's about 10 minutes. So give me a thumbs up if you can. And then I'll just then go find the video, and then I'll share it and play it right now as we're live. Say that again, Nathan.
Sorry, I don't know how to thumbs up while I'm in a voice chat. So
okay, well, you don't have to thumbs up. I just know you'll tell me. Yeah, let me see if people would.
Did you inherit that collection of data? All of Joe's stuff.
No, I didn't, but he still has a website, and so it's not down, thank God. So I basically went and found it, and found the footage that was that he was talking about, because he initially showed me the raw footage of this before he edited it in this particular form.
And since I'm not on, since I'm on Telegram, not watching YouTube, I assume that this will be live later. I could catch it later.
Yes, this will be live later, and yeah, I'm sorry for those that are watching or listening on Telegram that I don't have any way to basically stream this to you guys, because the only thing that everyone on Telegram can hear is me speaking through this mic. Anything that's going on in the browser or anything else does not go. I've been trying to figure it out, but I feel like I'm just going to overload the system that I have right now with all kinds of settings and things that are just I mean, they've been solid and working great, but I don't want to push it beyond that point. Okay. So we had learning to love. Please share, Adnan. Alep Prime. Nope. Basil Sorbet says yes, please show. M said yes, please play. Thumbs up, smiley face, arrow up. Really want to see it. Okay. All right. Well, then let's. I found it. Let me switch over. Let me switch over to this browser. Okay, that works out great. So it's about the whole thing is 33 minutes long. If you guys are interested, it's just literally just my friend, late Joe Palermo, going doing his thing and researching how he was researching it and trying to record what he records. So this is not someone who's a charlatan or trying to trick you or whatever. So this is just one of the recordings in his life with doing what he's always been doing. So anyway, without any further ado, here it is.
Large big toe is where we're starting the measurement, and then as we're going on, and you can see the width of this thing, it seems to end up right at about
23, 22 and a half.
22, yeah, somewhere in there, right about in there.
Let's go on the width. Let's check the width out.
Okay,
here.
let's check the width. Okay. He was going to get a shot of the... Okay, at the width, 11 inches across.
I would say about 10 and a half. Here you go, Dave. We'll put it right back for you.
Now, why would you say 10 and a half?
Because you get the impression is so deep because of the size and the concave. Okay? Sure, the concave is the edges, okay? But the actual width of his foot, if he was lifting it up, was probably just right there. Just go to the deepest part. That's what I do.
Okay.
Everybody's got their own way.
Okay.
I go to the deepest part to check the width and the length.
Cool. Very cool. We want to measure that other one too now, or let him get his width.
Dave, we have another footprint over there.
This is how prevalent Sasquatch is in this area. I mean, my goodness, we couldn't have stepped out to just wow. And then
My assumption is just judging on the size of the toe, and this one is not as clear as that one, but
right.
we're gonna be, well, it's the same individual. Yeah, right there at the edge of the toe is 22, point of the heel, so, and the width. There we go. About the same, about 10 and a half.
And to me, what's interesting is it appears that this one that is to the left looks like a right foot.
Well, behind you where cars have driven, it's kind of ruined what would have been the left foot over there, but he may have been standing here and then repositioned himself. But those are two right feet, same size.
Right.
I think this was part of another one actually that's gotten messed up.
The cars have drove through it. Yeah, there's been too many cars driving through it.
And we're not even into this area yet. Let's see if I can get that from the other angle. Looks like there's a bit of a twist to it. Boy, it's been a while since I've done this. Almost too long. Thank God there's no sticker bushes I gotta move through. Alright, we're gonna go this way. This is clearer this way. Clear this way.
I'm trying.
There we go.
was just trying to get a view on.
There we go.
There, that's our squatch right there.
So anyway, what I was wanting to show was that footage because as my friend and just doing what he always did, I know he wouldn't be necessarily bullshitting me. And so I was basically, let me go back to voice chat. Sorry, I think I muted you, Nathan. Well, I'll mute you here again. So as my friend, he didn't, he wouldn't be playing these tricks on me. And when he showed me this different footage, to see that it's for him to be, to have captured it, it was pretty amazing. I know it wasn't somebody just trying to make something up. But then also during that video that we had discussion with Cindy, I asked her about eye shine, and this was one particular one to where you see these two red dots. Now you make up your mind as you will for what you think this is, whether or not they made some kind of mistakes, whether or not there's some kind of lights out there. But, during the day, he was discussing with me where these lights are and how they show up. It would be like really high up in the air in the tree line, and there's no power of any kind, unless someone would have shown two lasers out there or had two red lights to just kind of pop up and glow up glow in the dark as they appear in this video. So I encourage you to check out this video. I will also, along with the symbols, let me see, because I do have this option because I'm already in it, so it's not going to be that difficult. I'm pasting the link in the chat right now so that you can watch this video on your own when you have some time. And so that way you can just scrutinize it for yourself and check it out in more details. And also in Telegram too, I will post this link and also post the picture or a video that I could find of those 15 symbols, where then you should be able to use that as one of the tools to help you meditate and eventually make progress regarding contact. Okay. All right. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else, if there's in chat, if you would like to discuss anything else. I know I'm on voice chat and Telegram with Nathan and Carlos. I believe Carlos is just listening, and Nathan and I have been chatting. So we did as well last week, because if no one else wants to log in and tell us their story or share some other interesting things, then it would just be us two. But I'm very glad that Nathan logged in. Otherwise, I'll just be chatting about whatever else would come to mind. And sometimes I don't know, unless I'm asked a specific question, I don't know what's of interest for people to talk about and discuss. Nathan,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, I pulled you up on. I pulled it up to YouTube so I could watch the video. I saw it. That was pretty great. Good stuff. But that did bring another question of mine I wanted to ask you, and now's a good time too.
Sure.
Being tech savvy for years now, I've always blocked every kind of ad. Now, obviously, that doesn't benefit people who are making money off of ads. Tell me, do I need to actually watch the full ad, click on the product and stuff, or how do you benefit from the ads? Like, what do people watching the YouTube videos have to do?
Oh, well, I mean, my whole goal a while back, I mean, not a lot of people know, but it's a huge investment in just this mics, cameras, and everything else. I mean, thankfully, a lot of the things I was able to do before I got married, after I got married, you have to be like, hey, I need to buy this stuff or build these things. And so, thank God for my wife. She's very understanding, and I love her, and I really appreciated that she's, understanding what I'm doing, and thankfully she's also into this kind of stuff. So we kind of work together to make certain things happen. So for example, the streaming table that I'm using now that I happen to that I built, there was about $25,000 of our own investment that I kind of took on like second job and worked and saved that to be able to do this. And then very graciously, a gentleman named Eric von Felsen, he basically was trying to contact me, and I kept not. I wasn't necessarily ignoring him, but it was somebody's trying to contact me. Like always, people always sending me emails and all these other things. And he finally, like, there was one particular email that just got my attention. It's like, I want to give you money, contact me, But the reason why I then reacted to it is because at that time, I had I was hoping, well, people, if they like with what I do with UFO Hub, if they're interested for me to be able to grow this into something bigger and be able to give them more content and get more speakers and all these other things, I was thinking maybe through a conference, it will be a lot easier because then they can constantly watch conferences. It'll be all available online, because the initial donations, that's what they created so that now content can be created over and over again. And so by having the people coming in person, I was hoping that enough would show up to where then they would pay for the next conference. And so the benefits, then you would get free videos online constantly. Anyway, long story short, it costs a lot of money, and so when he didn't want to just leave a large donation. He wanted to contact me directly and deal with me directly to be able to do that, and basically paid for a third of what the table eventually was, which was $35,000, and he gave me about $10,000 in order to do this, and he really loved and appreciated what I was doing. And so I was very grateful for it, because there was $10,000 less that I had to work for and take away from my family and my children's mouth in order to build it. Now, of course, I'm not putting my family to an extent to where, like, well, either I put a video out on YouTube or you go hungry. No, I'm not that kind of person. I would never be that kind of person. But, we don't go on vacations. We don't necessarily have any other extra ways to just, do more fun things as a family. It's always, there's a plan, there's a message, there's I wouldn't call it, I wouldn't call it an obsession, but like a path that I need to do and I need to take with UFO Hub. And my wife perfectly understands that, because her, grandmother, Dolores Cannon, she was kind of the same way. She knew what she was doing with these different hypnoses, and she needed to publish her own books and just go about this, no matter at what detriment it would have eventually, did to the family, or detriment in the sense that all your money is reinvested in something else that could be more benefit to the rest of the world, while you kind of forego on some other things. So what I'm basically, with the ads that are on YouTube, my hope was like, oh, well, YouTube is going to be very reasonable. And so for me, potentially being a partner with YouTube, and by me putting up good content, and it's not, anything negative, or at least I wouldn't consider it negative, that they would, give me a share of these different ads that are shown on my video, so that way, instead of me having to go out to ask or go out to manifest and work otherwise, I was hoping that YouTube would be reasonable enough to just, pay up on their part. And so then that way I could take that money and then potentially invite guests or do whatever else I could do. But YouTube is very stingy when it comes to those things. And so, I still basically just kind of depends on what month to month, how things go. If I need a new camera or something, which I've been thinking about, but I haven't quite had the courage to break the news to my wife yet, because she'd be like, if you buy one more piece of equipment, I don't know, she might divorce me. But so anyway, but yeah, watching the ads, whether you just watch it for a little bit or click on them or not click on them, it depends on how much interest there is on the ad, is how YouTube then judges about how much of a click-through rate to give me, so that then I get something back from those. But it's so minute that it's like just a couple bucks, and so maybe in a few months, I might be able to buy a brand new, SDI cable if I need a new one or something like that. Anyway, the point is, I'm not complaining. The point was, I thought YouTube was going to be more generous with their creators, and for them being on their platform and attracting more people to their platform because of the different content, that they would be more generous in giving more of a share when it comes to these different ads. But they're not. I mean, there's some benefits that I get from it, but it's not something that I can just kind of go crazy and expand UFO Hub into something bigger. Because that's what actually all these different other, like if you watch cable, all the commercials that you watch during a movie, those are the people that have paid to those companies, in case you weren't aware of this. And I apologize if I'm telling you something that you already understood. But for those that didn't or don't, it's simply that's how they pay for their network and everything else that they do. But it's such a large amount of money, and because of that large exposure to how many audience each channel reaches, they get they get to charge different things. They could be, $10,000 for a 10-second, 15-second ad, and you add several hundred ads per day that you happen to watch. That's a lot of money. So now they get to go out, buy all this equipment, make all their studios look great to sell you a bunch of lies, and so that's what I was also talking about earlier about what it is that you want to invest in. The point is, you can, we can't constantly complain about, oh, I'm not seeing this, I'm not seeing that, but you personally are not going into a direction that would have benefited somebody. And the point is, it doesn't necessarily have to be me. It could be anyone else that's maybe, a researcher that you like, maybe someone that I've already interviewed. All those different people need a certain support in certain ways, whether it be watching those ads or maybe just a few seconds of those ads on their particular channels helps them so they can continue doing what they got to do. But for some reason, there's always this group of people that somehow they always like, oh, it's all about money. I was like, yeah, let me tell you, it's definitely all about money, because I'm sitting here on a pile of gold, let me tell you, And so the what I don't understand is that, a lot of us that do this because it's, it's our passion. It's something we love doing. It's the interactions with people. So I always I never liked how some people want to talk about the UFO subject, but they have a shaky camera and the sound is bad and all these things that were just basically, that would occur, and was driving me nuts. I was like, how can we ever be taken seriously if we don't spend the time to buy a proper mic, to go and invest in learning certain things so that we can have videos like the ones that I put out. I don't know if you consider them that great videos of all the ones that I've done in person with just the black background and the person speaking and the different camera angles, but it's how I saw it that this is respectable enough. This is something that I could sit through and watch and understand what this person is trying to tell me, and I can potentially learn from it. So if you block the ads, I mean, for those who you really like, it could potentially, it's $1 or $2 that they didn't get. But, just recently, I had more options. This one company, I guess because of the table, I guess it's called the coolest bottle, or the coolest water bottle, or the coldest water bottle, or something like that. Anyway, they reached out to me and they wanted to do this program to where I would have had to have that bottle on the table, and about 10 videos would have to have 10 videos where the bottle is in sight, and then 5 videos out of the 10 that I would have to mention something about the bottle. Now, I always drink water. I have a water bottle over here that most of the time is not that cold, and it would have come in handy. But for the subject that I'm talking about, and for how seriously I still would like newcomers to take the UFO subject, I didn't want it to cheapen the platform, to where I'm sitting there. It's like, oh, and the aliens came down and they all mean us well and they're all about peace and love. Oh, and my cold water bottle that I like to enjoy, now on and off. It's like I didn't want to. I didn't want it to become like I'm selling this product. Now, of course, any money compared to zero would have helped. But again, for me, how it comes across is more important than eventually, what the money outcome would have been. It's not great, but it would have been better than zero. Now, of course, if they came to me and it would have drastically changed the way UFO Hub could run to where I could constantly have a daily show with a daily guest on something to deliver, then yeah, I would go for it. Because then it's benefiting the platform and benefiting the field in general. But just so that I can get, a couple $100 per year, it was not worth it,
Okay.
Anyway, that
Yeah.
was my long roundabout way of getting to your answer.
So the long and the short is skipping the video or blocking the video, you see no revenue. Skipping the video, you see a tiny bit of revenue. Watching the video, watching the ad, a little more revenue. Actually clicking on it, you get the most, right?
Right, but the thing is, I can't tell you to do that because I think it's also against YouTube policy. The point is, I hope that I don't know what they're showing you. They control what's being shown. I don't have that many restrictions or what plays before each video. And so I'm hoping that it's something that you really would like. If it's not something you like, for God's sakes, don't click on it. It's like there's support in many other ways. I mean, you could share a video, you can, share it on your Facebook, share it on YouTube, tell your friend about it, share the links, because the more exposure there is out there, the more views the videos get, all those little dollars eventually would add up to where it could be a significant budget to where the next step can be taken. But it's nowhere close to where I can, let's say, I'm not necessarily, what's the word? Where I can produce like Ancient Aliens does, because everything I do is just a one-man show. I bounce off a lot of stuff, to my wife. I ask her, say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And she'll give me some feedback. But at the end of the day, unless it's something that she can help with, everything that I do is just me. Actually, while we're on this subject, I hope everyone that's watching doesn't mind me doing this. I'll go back here real quick. So I do have this other channel that I just recently started, but I wanted to show you just what I'm talking about. So I'm going to mute this. So this other channel is something that I was thinking about doing. I don't know when I thought I would have the free time, because I absolutely don't, with the third child on the way and the different shows and work during the day. But there's sometimes ideas and videos that I wanted to put up on this different channel that I called just Totally Rad Everything. And so it's not a specific thing that I have to cover like with UFO Hub. So with this channel, it's just to, for example, this was me in the process of building this very studio here, and I might have showed this at the very beginning. I don't know who else might have seen it, but that's basically me just sitting on that tractor and just digging out the foundation and measuring things out with careful guidance of my father-in-law. You see him there in the blue shirt. And so I would just ask him, okay, I did this. What do I need to do next? He's like, all right, well, set this steel and connect them. So then we can pour your foundation. So then I would just start the work and do whatever I needed to do. And so it took about a year and a half to get this process completed. Over maybe 80% of all of that I did by myself. The rest was my brother-in-law and father-in-law helping with some of the framing, because when it comes to putting up the roof and the rest of the things, I couldn't have done it by myself. But the whole point was, I needed to do this because of what I now know because of COVID. But little did I know at that time, everything else I was trying to do with the conference, it didn't work. And I was wondering why. And so all of a sudden I realized, okay, well, I needed a studio. I needed somewhere where I can edit, where the children are constantly bothering me, where I can potentially, do more of these videos. So, and have storage for the rest of the junk in the house, because you can see the house is to the right of the studio, and it's very small space for the family that we're having. So anyway, the point was I just go out, spend my own money to build whatever I need to build to get you what you need to get. And I don't mind it one bit. I just always hope that I don't always have to go back to my wife and be like, hey, can we spend some more of our own money so I can go out and film this or do that? Because to go in person to do an interview, it costs about anywhere from $600 to $1,000 because I have to go drive to this location. It's several hundred miles away, often the different states, maybe on the coasts, then get a hotel room for several days, set the studio up in the hotel room, get the camera angles, do what I have to do, then have the person come out, do the interview, and then pack everything up and drive back. And so that's why I liked conferences, because then I can go to one location. Instead of only getting one interview, I could potentially get 5 to 6 interviews out of that same amount of money that I would have to invest. So it's just a little background of how this works, how I handled it throughout all these years, because I started in about 2014. But anyway, so that's us just basically building. I don't know if you can see this, Nathan. Are you watching also on YouTube?
I am. Yeah,
Okay.
I have you muted on YouTube though, because there is a delay, I noticed.
Right. And so yeah, there's us starting out with the framing after the foundation and the slab was put in, and just basically time lapse of me and my father-in-law just adding it, piece of wood by piece of wood, running in all the wires, and then after this part, it became. I'm going to skip forward a little bit. After this part, then I just did as much as I could on my own, and just put in the roof, did it all by myself, and just doing whatever I can to make what I needed possible, which is having this space so that I can have these shows.
Well, and it seems like it's absolutely necessary now. So this is a good example of you following your gut intuition, or following your
Right,
passion.
because little did I know that everything else that was being blocked all the time, there was a reason, because right when I completed this, COVID hit. And then I just looked back, I was like, wow, it still amazes me how this works out, that, there was a reason why these things didn't work out, to where eventually then I have this place, built, and made to where I can have it. It's soundproof. It has no windows, and use pretty good insulation so that I don't hear very much of what's going on out there. And if I hear a storm in here, it means it must be really thundering outside for it to finally come through in here. But anyway, so there's things like that. And this is what a lot of people that are into UFOs or these different subjects. That's how we all kind of make it. We just basically spend our own money go in our own direction, what we feel like we need to do. Like my friend Joe Palermo, he'll would take him months to save up to finally then get this camera, and then to maybe upgrade to 4K. And by that time he was already living on government assistance, so you get even less money after all the things have been paid out. So anyway, since I'm not, let me see, maybe there were some other questions I could attend to more that are now more about UFOs or anything like that. I didn't mean to kind of go off in a tangent about myself, but you jotted this memory, Nathan, so it's all your fault.
Well,
Yeah, but be a perfect example. So this is me digging out the power lines coming into this building. And so I dug out the trench and then did a lot of research and learned and asked all kinds of experts and people that are electricians. It's like, okay, what gauge do I need to get enough power where it needs to get? And then I basically, there I am spending at least, I don't know how long it took to just get that metal rod for grounding into the ground. And then this part right here, I was basically... It would have cost about $300 to just literally have an electrician come in and take the rods, hook them up, close it, and be it. And I was like, is this all I got to do? So my wife and I just did it by ourselves, to make happen whatever needs to happen. It's like we researched, it's like if every electrician is also a human being. So that means they spent the time to learn and understand what they need to understand. So why can't I, and why can't you for that matter? Everyone else, it's also a human being, and you should have the ability to do what you need to do. And, basically there's wiring the whole box, for the electric box and the fuses for this entire building here. So anyway, I'm going to skip forward here real quick. But yeah, there's me just getting all the different corners, getting everything into place, and just making all these different rooms and buildings ready. This is just more footage of when we're pouring the slab. What was interesting about this? See that little part that was just left. The tractor, not the tractor, but the cement truck was stuck, and so I basically had to take that tractor and go in, fill up the bucket, bring it back, and pour it out. So I was for 2 hours going back and forth doing that until they could get the truck out, and then only for that small quarter was the other truck was able to get back there and just pour it down in 10 minutes. So that was talking about difficulties and challenges along the way. So anyway, yeah, this is from the local company where I was able to then month after month, I would just as we saved up, basically got the different lumber and just have them deliver it. That was used for the building. But anyway, what I wanted to show then this other one that I have here. This is me making this table here that I'm using right now. Because I needed an editing table and I needed what I call the podcast table, because eventually I would like to talk to another guest in person here instead of just on YouTube. So I needed something big enough. But everywhere I looked, everywhere I went, there was always these hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And so just me doing what I did, making this table and just getting it all done by myself. Okay, let me skip forward here. So there's the smaller one, which I use for editing, and then the taller one, which is this one here. So I promise I'm almost done with it. But yeah, here's the final look. So this is the smaller table. This is basically my editing station, and there's one of the controllers that I was fixing earlier, as I mentioned. But this is where I edit all the pre-recorded videos and just filming a little B-roll footage here. And then this is the other table. This is where I'm sitting right now. And so it's looking from your angle more, streamed out. And yes, for some people, some of the guests that I had on, they were asking me like, oh, what filter am I using? I said, there's no filter, there's actual black wall. Because, open up the wrong browser. Because I always like that void background so that there's only attention on one subject, so you're not being distracted by too many things. I wanted to get it painted up. But yeah, so yeah, in so many ways, we all as ufologists have to do our own thing. I mean, if we can get some help, great, but it's not by any means the money that's not there that drives us. It's basically these experiences that are very important, that just feels like we need to let people know as much as possible about UFOs, about things that are out there, because it's almost feels like that it's irresponsible not to share something you've learned about, and so anyway, Nathan, that's I think you got already the answer that you were asking for, and kind of got me off on a tangent to show everyone else of what the building looks like where I'm at now.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I do have one more question though about your merchandise, because
Sure.
we were going to purchase some shirts. We were wondering, first of all, are you going to have other colors or also extra small size?
Oh, well, see, the depends on which one you're talking about. That's all run by Teespring, and so there's some things that that I let me see here. Yeah, because Teespring controls basically all the different options that are available. So I can select some things, and depends on which shirt you're talking about. I could maybe try to go back in and see if they can add, if they can add that for you. But other than that, I don't have that many options.
So I could ask them, I guess, like make a request.
Right. Let me see here.
'Cause my wife
Browser.
is, well, she's Colombian and she's standard size in
Right.
Colombia.
Which one were you talking about? Which one particularly?
Okay, let me pull it back up. I've got the tab open here.
Right.
Well,
Wait.
she wanted the one that the head of the gray, the large, head.
Oh, right. So more of the shirt. Yeah, I don't know which ones.
Yeah, the two.
Yeah, they only have small, medium, large. They go many different sizes: 2XL, 3XL, 4XL, 5XL. But yeah, it looks like they don't do anything else. I can see if I can expand the colors, to go more
That'd be great.
beyond. Yeah, to go
Yeah, that's
beyond.
my question.
Right. The only thing that I did that because it kind of goes with the UFO hub color, so I kind of stuck with that. But it's just basically something like this, helps also any of the researchers that are out there to just, or not just research, even for what I do. It's like, instead of just maybe asking for donations because I'm needing a camera or something, you get something in return. A portion, kicks back to me, and then I can, just recently I needed an SDI cable running from that camera all the way down to connect here because the signal kept going in and out, and so every little bit helps. But okay, well, enough of that. I didn't necessarily want to go into that much, but the option is there. So if you're interested in any of the stuff, majority of these were thought of and made by me. Others I had to go out and ask them to do. For example, like this one is basically an alien standing behind the scientist saying, "Excuse me," and the scientist says, "Don't bother me. I'm looking for aliens," which how I felt scientists are nowadays. They're so enthralled with all these specifics, and they're like, there's lights in the sky and we're trying to figure this out, but aliens are already here wanting to interact. And so I did kind of a play on that and included the same one with Sasquatch, where it says, "Excuse me," and then scientists looking at Sasquatch footprints. So okay, enough of that. Nathan, let me see, voice chat. No, Carlos is still on, and which is great. Is there anyone else in the chat that had a specific question that would like me to maybe cover?
My wife had a question I can relay to you if nobody else does.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
She said, when do you think is a good time, or is a specific time for everyone to stop denying the UFO phenomena?
Now? Explain to me, please, what does she mean when? Like asking for a specific time?
Yeah, I mean, because everybody can know our UFO because movies or histories, but still lots of people deny that it's real and exists, and they want
Right.
to find scientific explanation. But I think maybe, okay, Nathan keep telling me about this air involved like evolution and I don't know when it will be a good time for just expose everything and show to everybody that this is
Well,
real.
So when
right.
would it be a good time for governments to be full disclosure, like for it to?
Yeah, like it sometimes happen a little bit with how is the name of these people? Pentagon?
The Pentagon.
The Pentagon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Well, here, right. I think, well, I covered this before in some other ones, so I'll try to make it short in this one, I promise. So the point here is that if you personally are interested in UFOs, simply go after whatever information is available for you to look up and research. Because like with everything in life, you can't push things onto people out there and say you must look at this because you have to look at that. I mean, we're not talking about information like, hey, you're driving down this road and this road is about to end. If you don't hit the brakes, you're going to fall over the cliff. That's a different story we're talking about. When it comes to UFOs, it's not something that I would recommend pushing on people, because everyone, if it's their time to learn what they need to learn, they will come across it. But the best thing that you can do for yourself is just simply go out, to put another plug, watch all these different interviews that I've done with all these different researchers that were so willing to give the information that they have about all that they've learned. Listen to them, learn something, and then you kind of grow with that information. Because if you go out, and I think Nathan would understand this perfectly, if you go out to pester people and try to get them to be like, hey, you must look at this, or be insulting about this, they're just going to grow to be resentful. So for example, Nathan, do you remember our no, I don't mean any insults to anyone that's vegetarian or vegan. This is just a particular story that Nathan and I can kind of relate. But do you remember, or do you know who I'm about to talk about specifically?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so the point was, this particular person was very much into veganism, right? And thought the world of it. And everywhere we went, we always got this full spiel at every restaurant, every place, about how we should just cut out all this stuff and do all these other things, when all of us just wanted to just sit there and eat our burgers, right? And I think you remember that, right, Nathan?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right. And so the point was, it's not that he didn't have good information, but he was constantly just everywhere we went. Like, I would pick up something, he will give me a spiel about how this thing is not good for me. And just to spite them, I'd be looking at him just going like, this still tastes pretty good. The point is, we are programmed in such ways that when we're told in this manner that we have to do something, when we really don't feel like it, it makes it more resentful, and it creates more barriers than necessary. Right? This information could be like the best information for us to take in, but if it's not delivered in a positive manner, people reject it. So we were having, and I think you were there too, Nathan. Remember when we were at this one particular place, we were learning about like creditors and commerce and about contracts and all of that, and we all were basically sleeping at this one house, so there weren't any beds, and we were all in, sleeping bags. Yeah. And so he was going on and on and on how much he hated Christians, because Christians just pushed their beliefs on him and made him do all this stuff he never liked doing, and all these things. And I'm just kind of smiling at them. You can't see it because it's dark and we're all trying to sleep, but certain people are still having conversations. And I just turned to this person and I just said, hey, okay, do you know how you just said you don't like these things that Christians do because they push things on you, whatever? That's what you literally do with veganism. And he just kind of, I felt like he was kind of trying to get himself out of that. Do you remember that conversation?
Oh yeah. Yeah, very
Right.
good.
But the point was, it's not that I was not open to any new ideas to learn something. And in a lot of ways, he was right about food and what's in the food. Now, I still love steak and all this other stuff, so you're never going to change my mind regarding that. But the point was, he was so pushy about it to where it just rejected any conversation, rejected anyone willing to even just for a tiny bit to open their mind. So Jessica, I hope you understood the analogy that I was using, is that as much as we want the Pentagon and all these other people to just open up all the files, get everything out and just put it out there, it would create too much chaos, because there's certain information about, different alien races that would be very detrimental to us. So for example, over 95% on the planet, there's people still believe in something. Whether it would be some form of God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, whatever. But there's these established religions, and being in contact with aliens would not just be, oh, hey, there's another alien race that we need to be in contact with, but it would bring into question the very existence of these different belief systems. And can you now imagine that all these different religions would then be faced with this information, whether it conveyed to them telepathically or otherwise, that they are the God they're looking for? It would create a huge, distress in their lives. It would create a lot of discomfort and a lot of things that all of a sudden they're going to be faced with. So all of a sudden that they're going to have to deal with, that it would make things very difficult. And now let's say you do that worldwide, it creates chaos. That's just one example of what I'm talking about chaos wise. Never mind talking about then chaos wise about different, systems regarding economy, different systems, regarding how we, have our resources, and how we, our supply and demand works, and all these different new understandings. It comes with that when you're interacting with another advanced being that understands things in a much broader picture, to where it would change your life in such ways to where even something as love, right? And, I hate to going back to it, even something as that, it can still create some anxiety to people. They're like, they love this person, they care about them, but then the day comes in where they have to decide to move in together, and all of a sudden all these new emotions and feelings come up, to where now instead of you just loving them, now you're all of a sudden considering more than that. Now you're thinking like, well, hold on, now you're starting to kind of wonder like, okay, am I making the right decision? Am I just going into this blindly, right? I mean, just simple as something as simple as that would make you reconsider. And so obviously being in contact with these more advanced races would make us question everything in the way we do things, and we can't have too much of that at one time. Otherwise, it's just going to be too much stuff going on, to where you're not going to have things produced easily. You're not going to have food in the stores. People are not going to be able to go and buy certain things because the workers that were on this line, they came across some information that really brought a lot of fear and discomfort to them, to where they stopped going to work because they were so traumatized by it. And I mean literally to that extent. That's why that's why when a lot of people say that why don't they just calm down, all this other stuff, if they only understood how much care and carefulness goes into this process of contact, they're very careful with which specific people and how many they make contact with. It would have to be specific people that can deal with a lot of stress and a lot of change, in their minds, to where then they can sit here like I am and just tell you about all these different things that I kind of went through. Now, not in this particular show, but I have videos under my playlist. They're called Talks, and so you can listen to some of my experiences, and all those things. It all depends on from person to person. So, Jessica, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let me see if there was something else. I'm looking back in the comments. I thought I saw a comment that was directed to me, or a question. Now I'm kind of going back, hoping I can find it. Oh, okay. This one was by Fabrizio. Hi, by the way. Let me see if I can read this right. So, power shared is true power. Power kept to self is illusion. However, our space friends only give surgical procedures. Scaring seems a raw deal. Did you have any experience with witnesses? Okay. So Fabrizio, the point of what was happening in this particular one, this is the story that was only told to me, and this was actually conveyed by Bashar. And because I trust the information, I'm going to relay it to you in that way. But it's not something that I personally experienced that I can speak on it. I'm basically relaying it. The idea of the grace, or the ones that we call the grace, is actually is basically us humans from another dimension that basically have gone a different route to where they were facing similar problems like we are now with environmental issues and things that kind of needed attention. And if I remember correctly, what happened in their timeline is that instead of fixing the environment, they started to genetically alter themselves to where they adapted to the environment. And so basically by doing that over and over again, they bred out the ability to reproduce to where basically they only had one generation of beings to live before they basically went extinct. But they were already advanced enough technologically and had, spiritually enough understanding to where, well, there's no other human DNA that we can splice our DNA with. So they basically said, but in other dimensions there are. And so this one particular dimension out of all of the dimensions they could potentially be dealing with, they made connection with ours. And so from this higher perspective, we, as the human beings playing out the game that we are playing out here, have made certain agreements with these different alien races to offer our genetic material that eventually would then help them propagate their race. And so, of course, from our end, and this limited perspective is looked at as something scary, something that's done against our will, something that, that we don't want to partake in. But for some reason, we just, well, not for some reason, but we just basically look at it only in a fearful way. Now, the more people were regressed and doing different regressions like Dolores Cannon, she was basically able to get past the fears, because when you regress somebody and you only stick in that fear spectrum where you only are reliving the experience, you're not learning that much because all you're doing is just reliving it. But when she got deep enough, and I forgot what the level it was that she called it, when you got deep enough, information came about the particular contact and why what was happening to where now you were being, this person then that had this fear was being explained like, well, we took eggs from you because we needed for this, or we did this because we needed for that. And then not only that, they started to remember that agreement that they specifically made on this higher level. And so from on our level, we don't remember it because we live this life to where we were born, we die, and whatever we experience is supposed to be kind of in this unknown dark period, and we're not like these different beings to where we already come in with our, a lot of our understanding to this world to where we already know a lot. We just simply kind of literally born naked and you die naked, well, not literally. What I'm saying is that the ego mind, the character that I mentioned earlier that we are, just simply lives out the life, but it doesn't necessarily, unless it sees something or hears something or it receives information in the way we know information is received, it doesn't understand why certain things happen. And so there's a higher understanding to that entire level. So yes, I'm not denying at all that these experiences were traumatic for the different people. I'm not denying that these experiences, didn't alter their lives in a negative way to where, they would have a lot of sleepless nights. But those that have taken the time to seek and go beyond of what they only know as fear, they understood more and were given more information to where now it changed their life, and they're not, they can move on and not always see themselves as a victim. And so this genetic splicing program is basically now what we call the hybrids, because these different alien races or different level of hybrid races, I believe there's 5 total that Bashar said were created out of that genetic program. And so there's ones that are hybrids that look very similar to more like the greys than humans. And then as the evolution and improvements went on to the other hybrid race, it's actually energetically and very look-wise very close to us. And according to Bashar, they were supposed to be the ones that are kind of on this grander, Federation contact, Space Federation contact approach. They were supposed to be kind of the first ones to make contact with us because of that energy I was telling you about earlier, about how difficult it is. Different beings have a different energy. We can't adjust to them very easily, but these different alien races can adjust. Basically because of their genetic development, they're very close to ours. So an actual physical meeting would be a lot more, easier to occur. So anyway, I hope Fabrizio that answered your question from what I've learned regarding that. Right. And it says, yes, Asasani hybridation. Yeah. Who else I have? Okay. So if is there any other questions from anyone that would like to maybe go into certain things? Other than that, I don't know what else we can potentially talk about or cover, unless you get me going into a new direction. Or maybe you want to call in and maybe share some of your own stories. Nathan, thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it. I know we never planned it, but you happen to be on, so thanks for coming on and just chatting with me about whatever, and just being someone who I can bounce some ideas off. Because sometimes just staring into that lens, it's difficult for me to have a conversation, but when I know I'm actually interacting with another human being, it just conversation happens a lot easier.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. I really enjoy it myself.
Good deal. I'm glad you do. Yeah, because it's been about 2 hours and 23 minutes, and I don't know if there's anything else that anyone wants to cover. Otherwise, I was thinking about just letting this be it, and we'll do this again next week. And I'm going to keep this going however long possible. And if Nathan logs in every single time and it's only him that I interact with, then so be it. Because the point is it's an opportunity for all of you to share and for us to just hang out and discuss things. It's not a must, but I'm pretty sure some of you out there have a lot of experiences that would like to share, and others would like to hear it. So don't be afraid. Join the Telegram group and discuss it with me and share. Okay, well, Nathan, thank you very much. Carlos, also good to talk to you a little bit before the stream started. For those of you still watching, sometimes about half hour before, so about 6:30, I start the voice chat, mainly because I need to set it up with my programs that I got going on before I go live. But I basically go live and just chit chat with whoever logs in, and we just talk about whatever. They happen to ask me about my wife and when the baby's doing, all that, so we discussed mainly that. But usually if you log in there, you'll be able to just directly talk to me, and it's not not necessarily going to be live until 7, and then whatever else we discuss will be seen by everyone else. But yeah, let me see here. Okay. All right. No, I was just trying to see if I maybe missed something else, but doesn't look like it. All right. So Nathan, Jessica, thank you both. Carlos, thank you as well for logging in. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Steven Moreno, it has something to say.
Yeah, in the chat it says
in
Steve
the
Moreno has
chat.
something to share. Did you see that one? Maybe you already did that question.
Oh, no, I didn't. So it's I think about 20 seconds delay. So Steve Moreno, I mean, whatever. I don't know if what it is that are you talking about sharing over chat or logging into Telegram? If you do, then please do. Meaning, please do either in chat or log into Telegram to tell me about it.
Maybe I'm just looking at it wrong. It was the chat that you had shared in the video, not the actual chat to the right of the video. And somebody said Steve Moreno has something to share in a
Yeah, no, I see it. I'm looking at it. I'm not displaying it to you guys, but I see it. Yes, Steve, yeah, it says I have something to share, but I don't know if that was in reference to me or if it was in reference to someone else that he was talking to in the chat. So I'll see if I see any other responses. If not, then I'll end the stream there. So until I get an answer there on the chat, how are things in St. Louis, if you don't mind me asking?
Really good. Yeah, really
They're
good.
opening places.
Yeah, everything's open. There's no more masks. Well, everything's returning to normal. But I don't know about you, but normal wasn't good enough for me. I'm ready for way better than normal. So
Right.
I think we're seeing a lot of good stuff happening here. So
Right.
and the energy, you can just I feel it. I just feel like it's just it's just getting better and better, and people are happier and happier. It's almost like the world is split into two. There are still a lot of people that want to live in that fear and believe all that stuff, but there's a whole lot of people that are just not. And when you're radiating that energy, you like attracts like. And I feel like the only people that I'm bumping into are either people that are already in the know or are eager to be in the know or are just very loving, happy people. And so it is like there's already two earths going on. Oops, my phone's going to shut off in 30 seconds. I need to find a
Oh,
charger.
no. Okay, go find it. Okay, well, Steve Moreno said, I'm here. I'm glad you are. I was asking if you wanted to. You said I have something to share, so I don't know if you meant on Telegram or in chat. If not, I was going to end the stream, so I was just waiting for you to say what you were going to say. But then Michael Ledger also said mine was a question. If you can please just have your question restated with these three little dots. Let me see here. Three little stars. I'm going to type this up real quick. So can I do this by speaking? I see the green mic. It's a great snagger just passing through. Well, Steve, you have to be the people that I have on now. They're in the Telegram group, and the green mic that you see there is basically them on Telegram right now speaking to me. So some are watching the stream as well, but they're using their phone to be in the Telegram group in the voice chat. So then they're logging into the voice chat, and then basically they'll show up on my list here, if that makes sense to you. And so then I can see you, and then you can unmute yourself and speak. But if you don't have that program, I urge you to download it until next week, Wednesday. And then we can definitely talk then, because I'm going to be doing this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Okay. All right. Well, I'm Steve, I hope this kind of answers your question, and I'm going to end the stream now. So I hope by next time that you can either on your computer or your phone download Telegram. On the description under this very video, you can also find a link to the Telegram group. And so I hope you take the time to set up the account and basically join the group. And then next time you'll be able to just speak to me directly, like you see here, Nathan and Carlos. Now, it's not necessarily just to always speak to me. You can just join the voice chat just to listen to this over Telegram. Unless you want to watch it in YouTube, then you'll have that as an option. Okay, good deal. He's gonna get that, I guess, downloaded for next time. All right. Well, this one question, I guess I can answer that real quick. By Fabrizio says, are there reported clinical procedures not done by Zeta Reticuli? What I saw with witness was done by blonde-looking beings. I personally, Fabrizio, I personally have not read any accounts or have the experience that that involves the let me see, the blonde looking beings. But anytime there was any kind of contact with the blondes or I guess the Pleiades, it would have been simply just interactions with them without any kind of procedures. Now, when it comes to specific procedures, there were the praying mantis type beings and other insectoid types that were doing these different procedures and maybe some kind of genetic extraction. But other than that, I'm not too familiar about the blondes specifically doing procedures. It's always just been more of on one-to-one interactions and contact. Okay. All right. Well, everyone, thanks very much. Thank you, everyone in chat. Thanks, everyone, again in Telegram. I hope next time you'll be able to join on Telegram and speak to me and share your stories. Otherwise, I'm sure Nathan will log in and then we'll chat again about all kinds of things. But everyone, thanks again. It's been great. And so next week, next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m., going to have open lines again. Look forward to this Friday at 7 p.m. I'm going to have Kiwani Lepseritis to talk about the Sasquatch people. And so we'll just basically go with the Sasquatch subject as much as I can without saturating you too much to where eventually you just get sick and tired of it. So again, thank you. Have a good night, good evening, wherever else you may be around the world. So I appreciate it. And we'll chat next time.